Michael Wolff, who's been all over the news this week because he was BFFs with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it's like 1 week ago today, I think it was 1 week or 8 days ago today, we had an exclusive report on Michael Wolff and tapes that we had heard personally of Michael Wolff dealing with Jeffrey Epstein and this former Obama White House counsel. And Michael Wolff was more of an advisor to Jeffrey Epstein than he was independent journalist trying to document anything about him. I mean, he had lots of thoughts on how Jeffrey Epstein needed to rehabilitate himself and, could come clean with the public and sort of return to polite society, and was advising him on how CNN might be asking Trump about Jeffrey Epstein at a debate, and on it went. Well, Michael Wolff is making a living, like single-handedly out of talking about the Trumps, thanks in large part to his talks with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, he's tried to parlay that plus his profile of Trump in Fire and Fury into a whole career as a Trump whisperer. Meanwhile, Trump hates him. But anyway, one of the things he did was he went on a podcast with the Daily Beast, and he started talking about Trump and Melania and the beginning of their relationship. This is July 28th. This is from Michael Wolff's Instagram, but the Daily Beast also wrote up this story. And listen here to what he said, South 35.
This sham marriage, trophy marriage, hardly any marriage at all, is part of the scam he's pulled on MAGA. But I think that's in danger of being undermined now by the Epstein story, in which Melania plays no small part. Epstein told me that Trump and Melania got together, had sex for the first time on his airplane, Epstein's airplane. Melania met Trump through the same modeling circles through which Epstein and Trump procured dates. And after he got married, he continued to cheat on Melania, in part through his Epstein connections, and often with Epstein as the wingman.
Okay, so he not only posted that on Instagram, but he talked to the Daily Beast, and there was a podcast in which he said similar things. And the Daily Beast took down that podcast after hearing from Melania Trump's lawyers. But Michael Wolff did something else. Michael Wolff, instead of backing down, filed his own request and action, a legal action, a case, for declaratory judgment, which is kind of what you do when you know you're about to get sued and you'd rather be the plaintiff than the defendant. You beat the would-be plaintiff into the court and you say, I'm the plaintiff and I demand a judgment saying I did nothing wrong. So that's what he did. And he's in there now saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I did not defame anybody and I want a judgment to that effect. And he's going after Melania, standing by what he said in that clip. Anybody have thoughts on whether what he said in that clip is per se defamatory or could form the basis of a defamation case, given that he started it with Epstein told me?
Well, if I can take that first, Megyn, look, what he said, and you've got to, setting aside the absolute atrocity, like the atrociousness of what was said, I think it's just reprehensible, that the things that he said. But setting that aside, you have to look specifically at the very words that were used. And this that we just played in that slot is a mixture, if you will, of opinions and allegations of fact. And in order to prevail on a defamation claim, it has to be essentially a false statement of fact. And of course, there's some nuances to that. A false statement of fact, and the burden of proof is on the plaintiff. In this case, it would be Melania to prove that those were false and in fact defamatory. So you mentioned that he's gone to court first. There's a type of law called a SLAPP statute, and it stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. And the word strategic is in there for a reason, because as you pointed out, this allows the would-be defendant to go into court first. And then he has to prove, now that he's the plaintiff though, Wolff is going to have to prove that his comments were not defamatory. So he's basically changed the burden of proof, if you will. I think it was probably not a good idea to do that. The best thing to do would have been to just take it down and move on, as the letter from Melania Trump's lawyers asked them to do. That would have been the smarter thing, but now we're in court and we're going to have judges and all sorts of people back and forth debating, is this a fact or is this an opinion? Oh, and by the way, if all we're doing is regurgitating the words of Jeffrey Epstein, then Wolff is going to say, technically, my statement is true because this is exactly what Epstein said.
And
but
that's why this is going nowhere.
If you're repeating defamation.
So you agree, Mark, that's a get out of jail free card, like a total carte blanche for Michael Wolff to say whatever he wants, as long as it's prefaced with Jeffrey Epstein told me?
Yes, and as we all learned when we went to law school, the First Amendment gives you wide latitude to spew outrageous and offensive speech. The question is whether this is primarily opinion, and it looks that way. There's a few facts that he'll say, well, I said in good conscience. It doesn't mean that they're actually true. He doesn't have to be truthful. Again, she has to prove actual malice, that he knew it was false, or a reckless disregard of the truth. It's a very high standard, as you have learned, Megyn. So I don't think this lawsuit goes anywhere against this guy. It doesn't mean that I'm in favor of what he says, and it doesn't mean that it's factual. I have no idea if what he's saying is truthful. But I love our First Amendment, and it gives us wide latitude to say a lot of things.
Well,
you don't always have to be right.
Yeah,
I'm just rereading the little transcript from that Instagram post, which is at issue, and Melania's threat letter to him raises what he said to the Daily Beast and what he said in Instagram. And here's the beginning. Before he gets to Epstein told me, Ashley, he says, this sham marriage, trophy marriage, hardly any marriage at all, is part of the scam he, Trump, has pulled on MAGA. But I think that's in danger of being undermined now by the Epstein story, in which Melania plays no small part. So all that precedes Epstein told me that they got together and so on. And by the way, he also went on and said some very terrible things about Trump wanting to sleep with his friends' wives and setting traps up to get them to sleep with them and so on. Now, Trump is not the one threatening a lawsuit. It's Melania about what he said about her. I don't know if that's enough to call their marriage a sham, a trophy marriage, hardly any marriage at all, part of a scam he's pulled on MAGA, and I think it's in danger of being undermined now by the Epstein story, in which Melania plays no small part. Melania plays no small part in the Epstein story. Anyway, your thoughts, Ashley?
This is a game of chess. That's what he's doing. This is not about defamation. This is about discovery. He wants to be able to depose people, and he wants to be able to access documents in the public space and get discovery, get depositions, interrogatories, those type of thing. If there's a lawsuit, you can get discovery, and that's what he wants.
So what happens now? Because Melania Trump has not yet responded to the lawsuit. And a lot of times, as you guys know, as lawyers, you have a lawyer send what we call a nastygram to somebody, as Melania Trump's lawyers did, like, take that shit down or you're going to have a legal problem on your hand. And you're kind of expecting them to do what the Daily Beast did, which is do it, take it down. Instead, Michael Wolff doubled down, filed his own declaratory judgment action in which he is entitled to discovery. And you might be having an oh shit moment if you're Melania's lawyer, Ashley. So what do you expect them to do now?
That's why I say it's a game of chess, because you are having an oh shit moment. You're like, now he is going to get discovery. He said checkmate. When you filed that, he said, I'm calling your bluff, and now I'm going to double down and I'm going to be able to get discovery. And that's a win for him, because then he gets to talk about it. Then he gets that information. And if you don't give discovery, or you try to avoid a subpoena or something like that, he can spin that. So I think that is what his game is here. The smartest move is to try and get rid of this as fast as possible.
No,
okay, but let me ask you this, because the Daily
Why
Beast,
would it go away? We're talking
Mark,
about him.
let me tee this up. The Daily Beast, like I said, had a very different reaction. Not only did they apologize, but they pulled the story entirely. The Daily Beast recently published a story. They posted this on their website. Headline: Melania Trump very involved in the Epstein scandal. Author, meaning citing Michael Wolff, based on an interview with Michael Wolff. Upon reflection, we've determined that the article did not meet our standards and has therefore been removed from our platforms. In response to a letter from the First Lady's attorneys, the Daily Beast has also removed a portion of the episode of the Daily Beast podcast titled Trump's Epstein Scandal Can't Stop, Won't Stop, referencing the First Lady. The First Lady points to her best-selling book, Melania, as the definitive account of her life story. We apologize to the First Lady and to our readers. Does that play in, Mark Eiglarsh, in the attempt by Melania's lawyers to show, Michael Wolff is the source for all of this. The Daily Beast already backed down and apologized and retracted.
Okay, it plays well for Melania in the court of public opinion, because people like you give the impression, I think, or people are getting the impression that the Daily, what is it, Beast, Mail, which one? Yeah, Beast. Somehow then pulled it because what he's saying might be false. They could be pulling it for many other reasons. They don't want the hassle. They don't need the lawsuit. It's going to be costly. It doesn't mean, in fact, what they didn't say was, we're pulling it because he used our media outlet to spew lies. They didn't say that. They just said, it doesn't meet our standards, which is a nice way also of backing down and saying, we don't need the hassle. He wants his name to continue to be talked about. I didn't know who this guy was. I know now because we're talking about it. He doesn't want to go away. He loses his 15 minutes.
Oh no, my team informs me he's huge on Instagram. Yeah. Like this gross trolly kind of guy who's like never seen a journalism line he doesn't want to cross, in my opinion, has got this huge following because his whole business is Trump sucks. And I know all the ways in which he sucks, and I'll tell you all the evil secrets of Trump.
He wants to stay relevant. This is keeping him relevant.
Yeah.
That's right. So maybe it was a mistake for Melania's lawyers to send the nastygram to him because they opened the door. We'll have to see how they respond. My friend just lost her ring. She went to replace it. She realized it was a gold ring. The price of it has gone up like 25% since she bought the ring a year ago. That's because gold is on the march upward. And it is the one time of year that Birch Gold Group gives away free gold with every qualifying purchase. That's right, for Black Friday, when you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, Birch Gold will send free gold to your home for every $20,000 purchased. Gold started this year around $2,600 an ounce. By October, it was over $4,000 an ounce. Why? Global uncertainty. 2025 has been defined by trade wars, central banks are pulling from the US dollar as the global reserve currency, and military tension continues to build. Gold thrives in times of uncertainty, and if you are looking to diversify your savings, Birch Gold can help you. Plus, now through November 30th, get free gold, I say, with a qualifying purchase. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and for a free info kit on gold. But your opportunity for free gold with purchase will end on November 30th, so don't wait. Text MK to the number 989898 for full details. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.